Hello again and welcome back. My name's Annie and this is my creative detour. I hope you've all had a wonderful weekend and have had some time to play and create some fun projects. I'm going on with Mass Make March today. Well, it's actually evening here and you may hear some rain. I've got the doors open because it's quite humid here in Brisbane tonight and it's been raining all weekend. But it's nice to listen to the rain, so you may hear it in the background, but if it gets too loud, I'll close the door. You can see here that I have got a whole lot of tags off of my tea bags. Now, let me show you my tea bag stash. I have a whole container here of tea bags. Now, I save my tea bags. And when the container's full, I stop saving them, but also my mum saves some for me when I ask her to, and I have a friend who also saves some that are herbal tea bags because the herbal tea bags, you can see, are much lighter. So the staining from the tea is much stronger in the black tea, but the herbal tea bags nice and white or much lighter. So I like to have a few different ones. But the byproduct of saving the tea bags to do projects with is that we end up with a whole lot of tags off of the tea bags. Let me pop this away. And I've got a large bag of them actually. Look at them all. I've got hundreds of them and I just thought I either need to throw them away or I need to do something with them. So tonight's the night we're going to do a project with some of our tags off of our tea bags, and you can see that most of them are Twinings tea bags, and we have Australian afternoon tea, which is a nice strong tea. That's my favourite. We have Irish breakfast, and that's my husband's favourite. And then we have Assam bold in black. And we have English breakfast, which is a good all-rounder. And then I think I've got put aside somewhere, I've got some blue ones, which is Russian Caravan, which we like that as well. And then I have some herbal ones, so lemon and ginger, a few other ones as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to make some little tags out of our tea bag tags. Let me show you an example. Now I'm not going to show you too many. I've made about 7 or 8 examples. So let me just show you 2 and I'll show you the rest at the end. Okay, so here we have one with a number. Now the orange bit is the actual tag, so you can see there. I'll bring it up to the camera for you. The orange bit is the tag, and I've kept the twine on it on this one. Some of them have been cut off, so depending on who saved them, they may have been cut off, and that doesn't matter because we don't need hangers on all of them. So you can see it's a very simple tag to make and just a little embellishment. And I have put some scrapbook paper onto the back of the tag. Then I've got just a simple piece of ephemera, and then I've embellished it with an enamel dot and a jump ring embellishment that I've made, and that's it. Now this one here is very similar. This one is out of the Australian afternoon tea one, and once again we have a piece of scrapbook paper in the background, then the tag, then a little piece of Tim Holtz, that tiny ephemera pack of Tim Holtz, and there's one that's got labels in it, and then there's another one that has got like bugs and flowers and bees and things like that, and then just a little enamel dot. I've drawn a line around it and just quick, easy, and then done. We want the mass makes to be quick and easy, so not overly done. And then this will be able to then be added to another little cluster or as a little piece of ephemera to go on to a bigger tag or a pocket or anything really. So, but that's what I'm making, And like I said, I've got some other ones as well. Now you can see that some of the tags have the string still on them. I will keep a few strings on some, and then I'll cut the strings off some of the others. So let me show you what I've also got to do the mass make with. So in my box here, and ironically it is a tea box for putting tea bags in, I have cut up a whole lot of scrap out of my box of scraps and made a whole lot of backgrounds. So here's my stash of backgrounds, and I just pulled out all the little pieces and cut up some scrapbook or some digital or book page, whatever. I used any scraps. So it's good to use up some of your scraps. And I cut a background that was 1/4 of an inch bigger in each direction of my tag. So you measure your tags, because everybody's going to be drinking different tea and using different tags. So I'm not going to give you a size other than the backing paper is 1/4 of an inch bigger in both directions than what my tag is, which means that it gives 1/8 of an inch all the way around of a border. And you can see that I have two sizes here because I have two different size tags. So the Twinings tea bags, they're a slightly different size than the herbal tea bag tags. So I had to cut different sizes, which was fine. The other thing that I have done is I have cut then a slightly smaller piece of scrapbook paper and all different little bits of scrap, which it's great to be able to use them up. And these bits of paper are to go on the face if I want a piece to go on the face. So you can see that it's just slightly smaller. Now this piece of paper is 1/8 of an inch smaller than my tag in both directions, which means that when I put it on, I have 1/8 of an inch border, big border around the outside, and then I have 1/16 of an inch border around for the paper that goes on top of it, if I want to do that. So I don't have as many of those pieces of paper cut because I don't need as many of them. I've got other things to put on. I've got some other ephemera. You can see on this one I didn't put any paper on it, or on this one I've just put some digitals or some ephemera from Tim Holtz. So if you want to cover the face of it, they're the measurements that I've used. And you can see that I have chopped up a decent amount that I'll be able to use for different projects. So the plan now is for me to prep my tea bags and pull out some of the backing paper and lay some out. So let's start doing that. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prep my tags. So let me get set up with my board and we'll do some prepping. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull out 5 of each colour. So for some of them I'll keep a little bit of string on them, and others I'll cut it off. I'll do a whole heap of those. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to ink the edge, because it's got a white edge. I'm going to ink the edge with some vintage photo. I'm not going to be too pedantic about it. Like I said, it's going to be quick. We're wanting it to be quick. So let me just mass do that and I will see you in a moment. Okay, I've done quite a few. And now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start to pair up some backgrounds. What I've got now is I've got a few here that are the herbal ones. Let's start with those, and you can see that I've got out my pieces of paper that I like the look of. So I'm just going to put them out on my board and put them on. Let's find something else that we like the look of. Oh yes, that one will be nice. That might look nice. It's got a little bit of green in that one. I might put the green one on that. And that one might be nice with the pink. That one's raspberry and lemon. Let's do these ones because they're here. Alright, so you can see that I'm just pulling out some backgrounds. Okay, so I have put the papers behind them. I'm not going to glue them down yet because I may want to change the back paper depending on what ephemera I'm going to use. Now, I have quite a lot of ephemera that I've pulled out of my stash that I either already had prepped or I did do a little bit of prep. Now this one here, I have got a whole lot of little labels cut up and little bits of vegetation and mushrooms and tickets and a mixed bag. And that has all come from a couple of digital kits that I have from Michelle over at the Junk Journal Studio. Now I will link her below, her Etsy store, for you to have a look at her digital packs. They've got a lot of different bits and pieces in them. Everyone's different, and I purchased some to do the Christmas challenge. And I purchased two mega packs, one in green and one in red, and then I purchased two Christmas packs. Well, these are out of the green and red mega pack, and I had a fair bit of this already cut up, but I did cut some more up. So I'm going to use some of this to put on. I'm also going to use some Tim Holtz. Now you can see I have all my ephemera for different people in containers, and I store all these in my cupboard. So this is my Tim Holtz box. So I'll get out my two little boxes of Tim Holtz things. And like I said, one was little labels and one is like flowers and bugs and bees and butterflies. I also have another one. So it's called J. Lee Lou Design. And this one's antique metal tags, and I use this a lot. So let me get out a container of those. In this one, I have stamped items, and this one you can see says Crafty by Tony, and I have lots of stamped things. So these are all my little bits that I have stamped from Crafty by Tony's stamp kits, and I'll link her below as well. So as you can see, I just stamp out lots of different things and cut them up and put them in the container. I'm going to use some of my little jump ring embellishments that I learnt how to do from Crafty by Tony, and I love making those. So it's just jump rings, and I punch out, as you can see, here's all my jump rings. I just punch out lots of little bits of scrap and I stamp numbers or something on them, and then I put them on and I use glossy accents. I'll show you that. I use glossy accents to fill them up and make these little jump rings. And I do them in batches. About once every 3 months I'll just do a whole heap. And I also have some ephemera from All and Create. So All and Create EP67, and it's called Clipped Mailers. And I have EP66 Bolted Gears. So I have those if I want them, but you can see that I've got lots of little containers of bits and pieces that I'm going to play with. So let's lay some things out on these. Okay, so I've just pulled out a few little bits of paper that I like the look of. I've got a few things here, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this one here. Let's move them over a little bit. I like the look of that on there. Yes. We'll leave those for another one. Alright, let's bring in a little bit of ephemera. So I'm going to put that little label and a butterfly from Tim Holtz maybe on there. I like this. This is a little ticket out of Michelle's digital kit, and a little mushroom. That looks cute, doesn't it? Let's find some labels. Yes, I like that. Another little label from Michelle, number 36. And we need something for this. Let's bring out a stamped one. Needs to be cream. Oh, there's a cream one. Okay, I've found another little label that I like the look of. And I don't mind that one there, actually, tucked under there. Okay, so I've laid out a few things that I like the look of. And I think what I'll do now is, I think I'd like to do all of them before I do my gluing, because it's a mass make. I want to kind of glue everything all together and be inking everything all together. So what I think I'll do is I will do this process that I've just done with you, with the other tea bags that I've got prepped here. And then before I start gluing, I'll show you what I've got. So I will be back in a moment of your time, but in reality, it might be an hour for me to work out what I want to do. I'll see you soon. Okay, so here we go. Here's the ones that I've done. So we have our black ones over here on the left-hand side, and I've just laid out a few bits and pieces on top of the tea bag bit. I've left, like I said, I've left the strings on some of them. And then I've got my blue ones here. Now the blue ones are the Russian Caravan tea. So I've got a few blue ones there. I'll bring it up closer. I've got some red ones of the English breakfast, then the green ones with the Irish breakfast, and then the orange ones with the Australian afternoon tea, and then the ones that I laid out on the bench with you. They're all here as well. So there we go. There's my laying out of the little bits of ephemera. So what we're going to do now is let's just glue some together. We'll keep working on the ones that we were doing together. I'll just lift them out. And the reason I like putting them in a tray is because if I bump them or on the bench, or if I move them or something brushes against them and I lose little bits, then I get frustrated when I'm looking for something. If I keep it in the tray, well, then it can't go too far. All right, let's put those to the side and I will glue those off camera, but let's do these ones together first. What I'll do is I'll just ink up the bits that I want to ink. And I'm pretty much putting on most of them, I think I'm putting 3 things on them. So I've got the backing paper, and then I'm pretty much putting 3 items on the top. So I'll show you that so that there is a little bit of a method of keeping it simple but for it to still look balanced. Okay, let's do this one together. I'll find my art glitter glue, and I'm just going to glue my little tag. So I'm just going to lay my string into the glue and get it to the length that I want it, and then I will stick that onto my backing paper. Now this is a printed digital and it's just on copy paper, so it's not overly thick, but it's probably going to go onto something else. I'm probably going to use this by putting it onto something else, which I'm not worried about it being too substantial at this point. If I need it to be, I can always back it with something later. Now I'm going to just glue down. I might use glue stick for this one, and I'm just going to glue that on. And I don't want to cut the corners off this one. I'm going to leave the corners on it. And then I'll just put a tiny bit of ink around these little stamped bits of labels that I've stamped out of Tony's stamp kits. And she's got quite a few different ones. and I own quite a few different ones, so I'm not sure which ones these are because I've just done them over different times. But I will, like I said, link her Etsy store below. And there we go. That's all I'm going to do. And I'm not going to overdo it. And you can see that I have a photo, or I have an image. That's one. And I have two labels. So that's 2, 3. This one, let's do this one now. This is peppermint. Herbal peppermint. We'll glue it on. And this piece of backing paper is a digital from Michelle. I think out of the green mega kit. And this is also, I think. And this little piece of ephemera is from Tim Holtz out of his tiny labels. So I'm going to slide that under. Leave it hanging out a little bit. And I'm going to put on a little jump ring embellishment to finish that off. Down the bottom. And there's that one. So I'll leave that there. So there we go, there's that one. Alright, I'll quickly do these ones and I'll show you them in a moment. Okay, I've done those two. Let me show you this one. So there's our 5th one with the butterfly. And the 4th one, I'm going to put a enamel dot on it from Echo Park. And I've got quite a lot of leftover enamel dots from when I used to do cards with my mother. And I'm just going to try and use them. So there we go, there's the 4th one. There's our 5 herbal tea ones. I'm happy with how they turned out. They're pretty quick to put together once you know what you're going to do. So I'm pleased that I've laid them all out. So what I'll do now is I will do all the gluing of those other 25, I think. Yes, I've got another 25 to glue. So I'll do them off camera and I'll come back to you and I'll lay them all out on my desk and we'll have a look at them together. I will see you soonish. Okay, I've finished and I'm really happy with how they turned out. They look pretty good. Some of them obviously better than others, but I'm happy with how they've gone. So just to recap, I've made some little embellishment tags out of tea bag tags, and these are my tea bag tags that I used. I used mostly Twinings and some herbal tea bag tags. Okay, so let's start here from the left. So I've got a few dragonfly kind of ones. Here's some dragonflies and some bees. And I've used some little stamped labels and some ephemera and then some embellishing dots and a jump ring. And there's the last 3. This one's got a postage stamp on it and a little bit of washi tape on it. And this one's got some enamel dots and some ephemera, Tim Holtz ephemera. So that's those ones. The next ones I've got some numbers and some enamel dots and some of those bolted gear ephemera from All and Create. And then big numbers are from J. Lee Lou. And then I've got a postage stamp with a jump ring embellishment and then some stamped labels and some ephemera. Most of the green ones have either got birds or flowers on them. And once again, some embellishing dots and some jump rings. And there's another flower, a butterfly with some of those bolts on again. And this one's actually of fish. Here we have a few florals. One of them is a postage stamp and the rest are ephemera or stamped labels and just some embellishing enamel dots. And this blue tag is from Russian Caravan Tea, and it is Twinings, and I've got a bug, I've got a bird with a letter B, and I've got some fish. The green one was Irish breakfast tea, and the red one was English breakfast. And this black tag is Assam bold, and it has some flowers, some daisies, a letter D for daisy, and a bird with a jump ring embellishment with music notes on it. And then I have some mushrooms and a letter D with a little jump ring embellishment with a clock in it. This one's got some ledger in it, and this one's got a stamped figure 8. And there's my mushrooms. And then we have some of the herbal ones, and I've got a number with a jump ring. I showed you that one earlier. This one's got birds on it with some stamped labels, and this one's got just some ephemera on it and a jump ring embellishment. Then we have a few butterflies with either enamel dots or jump rings and some ephemera labels. And last up, we have some mushrooms, and they've got a few enamel dots on them. So there we go. There's my next Mass Make March, and I've made some little tags or embellishments from tea bag tags or tea tags. So I hope you really enjoyed that and got some inspiration to use up some of your tags that you've harvested off of your tea bags. Maybe most of you have thrown them away, but when I recycle my tea bags, I don't throw them away, and now I've got a stash of them. So I'm pleased that I have done something with them, and I'm sure that you'll see them popping up on some of my other makes in the future. Look at my lovely inky fingers. Means I've been having fun. Okay, thank you so much for stopping by again and for watching the video. And I'd just like to say how much I really appreciate all of you watching my videos and for commenting. And for lately, I've had some new subscribers, so welcome to you. I hope that you are enjoying the channel and enjoying some of the things that we make together. Yeah, I really do appreciate all of the lovely comments that you leave and all of the likes and the hypes. So for those of you that have been hyping me, thank you so much. It is greatly appreciated, and it doesn't go unnoticed. I read all of my comments and respond to everyone, and I read quite a lot of them to my husband, and he just thinks that you're all so lovely and kind. So thank you. All right, have a wonderful week, everybody, and have fun playing and doing some mass makes if you're participating in Mass Make March. And check out the hashtag. That is hashtag MassMakeMarch2026, and there's lots of other people participating in that. And I'll have some links below for the resources that I used tonight. All right, that's all from me, and thanks again, and I will see you on Thursday with another project. Bye for now.